Hi, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Minute Podcast. I'm Shauna Yurko, video producer and visibility expert who helps you get visible using your video content online. I'm really excited to introduce you to the guest from today's episode. Her name's Savannah Robertson, founder of Love Your Body Now, a clothing brand that represents feeling comfortable and confident in your body as it is right now. Her approach focuses on building confidence from within, which totally here for it. I'm excited for you to hear all of the wonderful juicy nuggets she shares during this conversation. She talks a lot about her mission to help women and serve them in a way that helps them to become more aligned, mind, body, and soul, so they can fully step into their purpose. We're here for it. We're talking confidence. We're talking about showing up fully as our authentic selves. We're talking so many things. I can't wait for you to hear. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe for more videos like this and for other juicy tips and tricks on how to make better videos so you can get visible online. And if you're listening to me just with your earphones, I'm so thrilled you're here, my friend. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, friend. Welcome to the Creative Minute, a podcast for the entrepreneur who's obsessed with personal growth, creativity, and marketing strategy. My name is Shauna, and I am a super nerd about all things content and entrepreneurship. In this space, we are sharing stories, tips, and actionable steps that will help you get more creative and have more fun with content creation. I'm all about making content fast and easily so that you can crush your visibility goals and actually move the needle in your business. Plus, we'll talk about how to chase after the best and most authentic version of yourself in your life, business, relationships, and more. So pull up a seat and let's have a brunch-style chat and break things down in a way that feels easy so you can focus more on doing the things that you actually love and want to spend your time doing. Let's get into it. Hi, friend. Welcome back to the Creative Minute. I am Shauna Yurko, and I have Savannah here with me today, and I cannot wait for her to introduce herself and for us to dive into a really epic creative conversation today. She is someone who helps women come back to themselves, through a mind, body, soul alignment. And we were just chatting real quick before we hopped on this interview. And I was like, okay, so what do you teach people in your paid programs? I really want to dive into your expertise. I want to know more about you. And she just started spouting off all this stuff. I was like, okay, wait, we need to hit record. So Savannah, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Savannah Robertson, and I'm the founder of Love Your Body Now, which is currently a clothing brand that really helps women, reminds women of their own inherent worth. So all of our designs, we have our take up space design, we have a worthy design, and it's really geared towards helping women have that reminder that you're worthy just because you are. Recently, the brand has really started to expand in ways that I didn't even know was gonna come out in me, but currently working on in-person events. So I actually have my first big event this Saturday.
Oh, congrats.
So we're doing that. It's called Women Who Heal, but also working on launching a mentorship and retreat for women that, like you mentioned, is all about coming back to you, reconnecting back to yourself, mind, body, and soul, and working with the subconscious, working with the nervous system to really reconnect back to our inner child, because ultimately, the inner child, we know we are worthy. We don't question our worth or why we are here or our purpose here. We get away from that as we get older. So my goal and my mission is to help women come back to themselves so that they can step into that energy and really embody that.
Oh my God, obsessed. I'm so excited to pick your brain about all these things. I'm writing questions furiously as we're chatting about things that I want to talk about, and I'm sure our listeners will want to too. First, the first thing that's screaming at me that you said is the inner child stuff. I love inner child work, and I've only done it a little bit here and there, whenever either prompted by a therapist or in a guided meditation kind of setting. But you mentioned reconnecting with your inner child, and I don't know, I feel like I am a child in my life all the time, but anytime someone has taken me through that work, I always cry. It feels so great. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I'm telling little Shauna what she needed to hear at that time. So talk to me about
maybe an experience that you had either reconnecting with your inner child or a really powerful one that a client has had, any of the above. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I actually had a recent realization with my inner child, and you and I both were at an event recently where
Yeah.
I got to speak on stage for the first time, and it wasn't until a couple weeks after that I had this realization that when we're little kids, like it's crazy when you ask a little kid what they want to be when they grow up, they always have an answer. They always know.
Always.
And it's because they're so connected within. They may not get it perfectly, right? But like they know what they are meant to be doing. And when I was a little kid, and this is something I didn't even want to share, like when people, icebreakers, are like, oh, what did you want to be when you were a little kid? And I never actually spoke the truth of what it was, but I always had said I wanted to be like a rock star. I wanted to be on stages. I wanted to be famous. And I thought that before my realization, I thought that that was so silly. I'm like, like that's not, whatever. Well, being on stage at that event, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it lit me up in a way that I had not felt for so long. And it was like, oh my gosh, like it's because my little inner child in me knew that that's what lights me up. That's my passion. And it may not be me singing on stage, but I still love singing. I still love dancing. I don't necessarily want to do it on stage in front of hundreds of people, but I love speaking on stages. And it made me realize that incorporating those things in my life, giving myself a platform to be in front of people, allowing myself to sing and dance in a way that maybe it's just at home or maybe it's with friends, is how I can feel connected to my inner child and give my inner child what it needs. And I think that we all need to find that as we're reconnecting and really figure out what lights you up, because it's lighting up that inner child.
God, I love that. So like that's such a tangible takeaway too for anyone who's listening, is just like imagine what you loved when you were a little kid and or what you wanted to be, and how can you like go out and do that right now? Not like, okay, I'm going to build a 10-step plan and go achieve this thing and become famous, but like really harnessing what you loved about like being on stage, dancing, and feeling that joy. I'm obsessed. Also, real quick, want to rewind. We did get to both speak at the same event just a few weeks ago, and it was so empowering. I loved listening to your story, friend. I feel like you and I have very similar paths and things we've had to kind of overcome, and I'm obsessed with your clothes. I will make sure to include those in the show notes too. Like anytime we can have an affirmation or something that reminds us that we're worthy exactly as we are, I'm here for it. So please, friends, walk, don't run, or run, don't walk to go get your Love Your Body Now merch. Thank you for sharing that about the inner child stuff. I love that you're like talking about the joy aspect of it, because everything that I've done with inner child is always like gut wrenching. Like,
Yeah.
okay, go back to this point in time during this trauma you experienced and tell your inner child what she needed to hear at that time. And I'm like,
Yep.
so I really love the joyful tone that we're
Yeah,
taking with
yeah,
this.
and you may not know exactly like when I was doing an exercise not that long ago of like what did I like to do when I was a little kid? And I was kind of struggling with like I don't really remember. And like I asked my mom, and you don't necessarily need to n- like let's for example, I played Barbies. Like, okay,
Yeah,
well, I'm not gonna play Barbies today. Like that's not what I do, but
you
it's like,
could.
yeah. It's like, what did that give me? And it's like, well, I was using my imagination. Like I was allowing myself to just like go with the flow. And it's
Love
like,
it.
okay, what can I do today that gives me those same feelings? Like you said, where it's like gives you joy. It's like identifying what those things you did as a little kid gave you and how you can give yourself that today.
My God, I think that's something that so many of us are missing as adults. Like, I don't know. So when you grow up, if you follow like the typical trajectory, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, like you do the 9 to 5 thing, whatever. Entrepreneurs, we definitely march to the beat of our own drum, but it still is easy to fall into the typical or the stereotypical adulthood where we're just like, okay, we're going through the motions, and suddenly like 10 weeks have passed and you do the same thing every week and you're like, what am I doing? Like I love the idea of just injecting some of that fun and that joy. Like I used to play Star Wars as a kid, and I actually have a freaking lightsaber that my husband got me
I
for
love that.
Christmas one year. Luckily, I have a husband who loves to like play and like have
Yes.
fun. So he's a really good reminder for me, but I tend to get very serious about things when I'm like in my stress element. Do you have any tips, or have you seen that? Like, talk to me about being in alignment, because I know that when I feel like I'm not in alignment, that's when I fall into my really serious side where I'm like not really looking at all the fun things in life. Instead, I'm like, no, we need to do this, this, and this. And it doesn't feel like myself.
Yeah, no, I go through those like ebbs and flows too of like up and down. And when you start to actually develop the awareness of catching yourself like, oh, I'm in a low right now, or oh, like I feel off right now. And it's so important to like have compassion, have grace for yourself, and know that it's not always going to be a high. But what I've learned is that we get to choose our experiences. We get to decide how we experience every single thing in our life, even if it's not an ideal situation. It's always like I've had things that come up in my life that were unexpected and like not ideal, and it's like you can either choose to let it affect your mood, allow it to bring you down, like, or you can choose to, I'm not necessarily saying you're going to like have fun through a negative experience, but you don't have to always find the negative in it, because there's always a bigger picture going on. There's always unseen things that we don't know is going on. And I've learned to really trust that maybe I'm going through an ideal situation because there's something better on the other side of it. And I have to go through this to get to that. And sometimes it does help if I do feel out of alignment, if I feel a little off, like I'll come back to the things that have worked for me, where I'll like go into meditation, I'll go into journaling, I'll listen to something uplifting, whether it's a podcast or a book that I love. And a lot of the times that'll help bring me back up. So sometimes you need to have that awareness about yourself that, okay, I'm in this low right now. Why may I be in this low right now? Sometimes like I'm big into astrology, like we got a lot of things going on. Like it just
Oh
could
my God,
be,
there's so many things right now. It
there's
has been
so
a
many
wild
things.
ride in a
Yeah.
not good way.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so there's some shifts happening. Like, okay, we're gonna go with it. How can I, yesterday I'm like, I had a long day and I'm like, I'm gonna go play some pickleball because I know
Yeah.
that that'll automatically lift me up. And it's just having that awareness, knowing what can spike your mood back up, even if it's something little, and using the resources, the tools that you've learned in the past to help assist you, help bring you back.
Obsessed. Love it. That I feel like that tracks really well with like how I cope with a lot of things, like because I've learned about myself. Like there's been so much or so many times when I just allow myself to stay stuck in that low. And in hindsight, you can always see, oh, maybe I wasn't living in alignment with my energy. Like, are you a human design person? Oh, I love a human. What are you? What
I'm
is
a
your design?
generator.
Yes. Okay. I could totally see that. So I'm a manifester, and I've always been a type that's like, I'm going to push through and I'm just going to go, 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 trying to live like a freaking generator. And for anyone who's listening, I have a couple whole podcasts that I'll link in the show notes that like kind of describe what I'm talking about when it comes to human design. So if you're lost, I'm sorry. There's more information where that came from. But in those moments, I remember experiencing such severe burnout after I would go through these really big periods of like, I'm going to push through and I'm going to be okay. And I'm just going to go, 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 go 24/7 and never give myself an opportunity to rest, which is really, really essential for what my energy type is. And so it makes it so that I can't show up for myself or like as my full self, for the people around me, for myself in general. And I love the idea of trying to take a step back. And if like, let's say we have a bad day, or maybe we have a bad launch with our business, or we have a tough conversation with family members, like making sure that, yes, we got to feel our feelings. You can't just like avoid them. That will backfire on you in such a huge way. But like going and doing something that's fun, love. You got to do it to remind yourself, okay, yes, there's ick happening, but also life can be very fun and two things can be true at once, right?
Yes, yes,
Like,
that's so true.
oh my God. Can you tell me a little bit about what the energy shift is that's happening right now? Because God, I need help.
All I know is I need, yeah, I am not like the astrology expert. I'm just obsessed with it, but I know there's like Kazimis going on. There's eclipses. There's eclipse that just happened. Retrogrades like Mercury and Venus
Oh,
retrograde, I think is what's going on.
so
And
much.
I know for me, I think I'm really affected towards the end of this month, which we're at the end of this month, because I'm a Capricorn and Saturn is my planet, and it's like completely shifting into something different, which
Oh
is
my
like,
goodness.
yeah, it's like changing everything for Capricorns. So it's, yeah, I bought like a whole workshop. I was like, okay,
Amazing.
I'm getting into this. I mean, and it's crazy because a lot of it really does align with like how we're feeling in our day-to-day life, realizations that we're
Yes.
having. So it's nice to have those tools, and like human design, like it's just a tool, I feel like, to help better understand your own energy and better understand yourself.
Okay, so astrology is one of your favorite tools. What is one of your other favorite tools? Or a few? I love hearing this from people.
Well, definitely human design. Actually, I started human design before astrology. I recently
Amazing.
got more into astrology. So I got like my human design readings. I'll periodically come back to it and read it, and it's
Cool.
crazy how you perceive things in a new light when you're in different seasons. So that
Very much.
as far as like more tools go, like meditation has been life changing for me. I was always someone that like meditation wasn't my thing because I'm like, it's just, I don't know, I can't do it. That was my mentality. But when you approach it a little bit differently than maybe what you think it needs to be, it really does change things, and it actually really can ground you, and you can use it to your benefit. So, and I was always like that with journaling too. I didn't care for journaling, but it's because I didn't know how to use it properly.
Amazing. Okay, so wait, can we dive a little bit deeper into this different approach to meditation? I'm interested. You've piqued my interest.
Well, I think what really got me into meditation in the beginning was I started doing visualization.
Cool.
And when I was doing visualization, it was really tapping into what I wanted to manifest, the life that I want to have, and just
Love.
sitting with that and feeling the emotions that come from already having those things. And by experiencing that powerful like shift within me through visualization, I started going deeper with exploring meditation and just learning how to use it to like feel into your energy and
Love it.
just sit in the unknown, or like the present as they call it. And just like I usually will do it when I can tell like my nervous system's really dysregulated as well, because it's like if I'm trying to like find external things to regulate myself, it's like, okay, like I'm gonna come back to meditation and sit with this, because clearly there's something that I'm avoiding, there's something that's putting me in survival mode that I'm trying to regulate, and I'm gonna try to start to lean on meditation to be the thing that helps me regulate.
Obsessed. Okay, let's shift into nervous system regulation, because anyone who's listening, I just came back from a weekend away and truly felt like that was what I needed to regulate my nervous system, because I don't know if it's the planets, I don't know if it's just life right now, life be lifing. But we definitely needed a good nervous system reset over here in Shauna's world. So, talk to me, how can people identify if their nervous system is dysregulated?
Some of the most common symptoms would be anxiety, worry, doubt, imposter syndrome, people
Ooh,
pleasing. All of these things are symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system, or I mean, depression, stress, these things that we are talking about a lot, which is great. But I think a lot of people are like starting to identify with them as like, oh, I am always anxious. Like anxiety is my personality. And like, I
mm,
think we really need to be careful with that, because when you're identifying with these survival responses, because that's essentially what they are, you are creating programming within yourself that is saying, this is who I am. Therefore, your body and your mind is going to create more of that, because subconscious beliefs, they are driving our entire life. So if you have a subconscious belief that says, I'm anxious all the time, that is what it's going to create for yourself.
dude, yes, 100%. Love that. When it comes, I love how you identified their symptoms of nervous system dysregulation, right? Or a dysregulated nervous, whatever,
Yeah, I
however you
mean,
say it.
if you're in a situation that it actually is survival mode and you're experiencing those things, that's a good thing. Like, we need those emotions. But when
Yes.
you're in a constant state of anxiety, you're in a constant state of stress and like always people pleasing in every area of your life, It's not normal. And
Right.
that's something to be addressed.
How would you tell people to address it? Like if they were to be working with you, or if you were to just be able to like insert your opinion, how would you recommend people do that?
I would start by trying to have them ask empowering questions that are going to allow them to dive a little bit deeper within themselves and help them unravel maybe some of the conditional beliefs that they're holding on to that is leading to this feeling of non-safety. Because that's essentially what's going on is we don't feel safe in our own body and we don't feel safe in our day-to-day. But like, what's driving that? Because there's a belief that it's tied to that's driving that. So you really need to start to peel back the layers. Sometimes you can do this like through your own work, but if you have very traumatic experiences that you went through, situations or experience in your life, you may need to seek out therapy to help you with that. And that's the biggest thing that I'll say with the work that I do is a lot of it, this reprogramming and regulation can be done on your own once you learn how to do it and learn how to support yourself. But sometimes you do need that extra support to help you work through experiences that maybe your body experienced a trauma response and then it never knew how to process that, and so it held on to it, and now it's creating this dysregulation within your body because it's still stuck in your body.
I can very highly identify with that, and that makes so much sense. So, full disclosure, and I haven't really talked about it too much on the podcast. Maybe I'll record a full episode on it coming up, because this feels very much like good timing and probably divine timing, interestingly enough. So I actually, a few years ago, we moved back here to Colorado. My husband and I, we actually lived out in California before that. And we were at a friend's barbecue and I saw a person that I hadn't seen since high school, and they went to a different school. And so like we had interacted sometimes during high school. We just like knew each other as acquaintances. But after seeing him at this barbecue, I had a repressed memory come back of a sexual assault. And I was like, what? What do I do with this?
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
it was very much, and I've done trauma therapy. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and it made so much make sense of like why I have so much anxiety, why my nervous system is so dysregulated, because my body remembered that thing that happened and didn't know how to do it. So it made me forget. And I think you're so wise to like tap in and be like, yo, you might need some extra support. Because I didn't even ask, you're not a therapist, but you would have someone like, yo, you got to have some therapy on board if we're going through this, or talk to me about that.
Yeah, like, well, so my background has a lot more like coaching, the coaching
Amazing.
world, health, fitness, that's where my background came from.
Fun.
But me personally going through my healing journey, especially last year, it was so pivotal for me. And so that's why I've really stepped into this work now, because at the time it was like I was trying to help people love their body. That was my mission, was helping people love their body through fitness. But what I realized, it was much, much deeper than that. And that was also something I had to navigate myself. And I did go to therapy. I did work with people who helped me regulate my nervous system. So yes, it may be like I'll be guiding women on how we can do this work when we are in a place to do that. But if, again, helping them peel back those layers of maybe there is some unresolved trauma and feeling safe enough to step into therapy and knowing that it's the support they need versus like trying to navigate it on their own.
Totally.
Because sometimes you need that outside lens. Sometimes you need someone who's not in the situation to help you work through it in a way that your brain is stuck in.
Totally. I get that 100%. Like, and you can even, whether people are working with a coach like you, or maybe it's just like I was going through things and my husband was my support person, but like he can't be my therapist too.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's so useful. You mentioned your story, and this is something that I really would love to have you share. Talk to me about your story and how you've come into this work and just basically the stuff that you shared on stage, because it was so powerful, friend. I would love to hear more.
Yeah, well, it really started 5 years ago when I started doing health and fitness coaching online. And I was working with women, which a lot of them wanted to like lose weight and tone up and just get more back into their health and fitness, which I think I always say that like that's a very empowering thing. Like it's not a bad thing to want to lose weight, it's not a bad thing to want to improve your physique. But I really noticed that like women I was working with really like coming from this disempowered place and really leaning on health and fitness, like thinking that health and fitness and weight loss and these changes that they were going to make to their body was going to be the solution to everything. And that
Isn't
really
that how
was,
we look at things as women? Rude.
yeah, I'll be happy when. And it's like I was feeling that internally because I was physically fit. I was like the leanest I had ever been. And I still was feeling in some way inadequate and not enough. And I was like, why? Like I did the thing, you know? But when I look back, like I internally I felt so much chaos. I felt so much anxiety. I had such this white knuckling grip on my exercise and diet that it was like I couldn't even allow myself to breathe. I couldn't relax. And so my whole point to that with the women is like no matter what we do, if we don't learn how to validate ourselves internally, if we don't learn what it means to feel adequate just as who we are, nothing externally will ever give us that long term. It will show up in new ways, like it may not be through your health and fitness or specifically weight loss, but it may show up like your obsessive control over your diet, or maybe it shows up in your relationships or your career, where your brain will still continue to look for this proof that you are inadequate or you're not enough. And so for me, I really had to take a step back because I'm like, this is something much deeper than I felt like I was equipped to handle, and felt like I wanted to impact women in that way. I just didn't feel equipped to do it because I had to do my own work first. It's like I can't speak from this place of knowing what I'm talking about when I can't even embody self-love. I can't even embody this persona of just, you know, feeling confident, feeling happy and connected with my most true authentic self. So I had to navigate that and go on that journey. And a lot of that looked like completely surrendering. I completely surrendered even trying to figure out a business because I was just like so like unaligned, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to figure out what's going on in here before I really step into that, because it's not, at this point, it's just busy work. It feels like I'm avoiding something. And so I focused on surrendering. I focused on building self trust and leaning into my intuition of like, Galentine's. Like Galentine's, I went to last year in 2024 and I got a free ticket, and it was like, okay, look, I know I'm meant to be here. I know that I need to get something out of this. I just don't know what. And that's what every step of my journey looked like was, okay, I'm feeling a nudge in this direction. I don't know why. I don't know what it's going to look like, but like something's telling me to follow this. And a lot of that looked like investing in myself in ways that I had never done before and allowing myself to do things that I had never done before. But over the course of like looking back at this whole year of focusing on healing, I built up all this self trust. Like I learned how to trust myself and
So
reconnected back to my body and really learned what it meant to feel aligned again. Sometimes you do have to go on that journey with yourself to really come back to yourself.
yeah, absolutely. So this just brings a freaking memory back right when I started the therapy. And after she was like, okay, so she took me through this little like questionnaire, and she was like, okay, so based on the results of this, you have PTSD, and here's what we're going to do next. I was like, okay. But she was like, it's going to be hard at first because you're basically like opening things up with things you either A, haven't ever thought deeply about. And so like the healing process always really sucks at the beginning, but then it gets better than you ever could have imagined, right? When you actually put in those reps and do that work. And God, I think your story is so inspiring. And I love, so when she said Galentine's is the name of the event that we both got to speak at a couple of weeks ago. And it's with a really amazing community she's made for more. And I don't know, it just is a very safe place for people to like start on that healing journey. And I remember the very first event that I filmed for Crystal and the She's Made for More movement, when you said you wanted to be a rock star, I have a video of you
Oh my gosh,
wearing
that's
a
so true.
silly, like it's like a blow up air guitar, and you're like having the best time just like jamming with it, and it was so great.
That is
That was
so
what I
funny.
thought.
That's so true.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to find that image and try and post it when this episode goes live because it's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing like so openly about your journey. Was there any one thing that really helped you move through the healing process? I know you gave a lot of different examples. Like you said you had to lean into self-trust, you had to surrender, but like if you could give someone one step to move forward with it, what would you tell them?
I would say, like, oh, that's so tough. I would say maybe a great first step would be to surround yourself with some kind of support. Because trying to navigate this on your own or with maybe family and friends, not everyone's going to get it.
Yep.
And when you are working on your healing journey, you are in your most vulnerable season. And people, if you share too much with people, they will likely project their own limiting beliefs on you. And that can
Mhm.
really be really challenging when you're trying to navigate that yourself. And I personally was always someone that like didn't want to speak up. I didn't want to talk about my feelings. I didn't want to open up. I didn't even want to cry in front of anyone. Like when I went to Galentine's for the first time, I remember saying that to someone that I was like, I don't cry in front of people, but I really need to cry. And it was like being and it doesn't have to be in a big environment like that. Even if it is a therapist or you join a free community where you're just around people who get it and who are on that journey, I think that that would be a really great step because you're going to naturally start to feel, okay, I'm safe. Like, this is something other people do. Like, this is something I can lean on other people if I'm feeling a certain way and not go through it alone. I would say that that is like, I think that that would help build your confidence a little bit more in taking further steps.
Oh my God, that's a amazing tip, first of all, and that's one I wouldn't have thought of. Like, I'd have been like, go journal.
Honestly, that was one of my thoughts was maybe journaling.
I think that your answer was so powerful. And then I think we can wrap up our talk. I've seriously loved this. I've loved every single bit. Like, I want to pick your brain about like all the step by steps. And I'm really excited for your program to launch. Tell me something. Actually, I want to ask one more question. How can we use all of this work and like personal growth and development to get more creative? Because a lot of people listen to this podcast either as entrepreneurs, they want to learn better marketing tips, or maybe they want to learn how to tap into their creativity. I just got an Amazon package, sorry.
Yay.
Yay! So exciting. But do you have any tips we could apply for creativity?
So this is probably going to sound a little crazy for maybe the marketing gurus or like the sales strategists out there, but I feel like the more we become aligned with our soul, with our heart, our inner child, I feel like this unlocks a level of creativity where you don't necessarily need to go do market research. You don't need to figure out what are people like looking to buy because when you get the ideas, especially when you're in a place of such flow because you have done the work to reconnect back to you receive ideas, and I believe that these ideas come from God, like the universe, like your soul. I believe they come to you because there's people out there craving what you can give in your own unique way. Honestly, I feel like this unlocks a level of creativity that I've never experienced before. Like I always would like look to what other people are doing and I'm like, okay, how can I replicate that? But honestly, when you are your truest, most authentic self, unapologetically, you fully embody this, your creativity, your flow just shows up and you don't have to worry about if so and so is going to buy that or so and so is going to like that because they didn't know that they needed it until you brought it to the world. So it's like a whole unlock that you experience of creativity when you do the work to come back home to you.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Snaps all around. So good. I want to end it there. Savannah, where can people find you and connect with you?
My personal page is savvy_Lee27, and my business page is We Are Love Your Body Now. My personal page, I've been sharing more like video content, sharing these thoughts, these beliefs, and
Amazing.
it's been more about the mentorship side of things. So
Cool.
you can follow either or. You should be able to find one from the other.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom, Savannah. I so appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We will chat again soon. Hey, friend. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you loved this podcast as much as I loved recording it for you. It would mean the world to me if you would share this podcast with your friends or on your Instagram story, like, oh my gosh, I just listened to the Creative Minute podcast and it was so good. It means the world to me when you help get the word out there. And if you'd like to work together, head to shaunayurko.com to see all the great ways that we could connect and work together. Don't forget to follow the podcast, thecreativeminute.podcast on Instagram. Get educational content from me at shaunayurko, SHANAYURKO. Can't wait to connect with you, my friend. I will catch you in the next episode.